Max, you see a lot of contracts come across your desk. Do you feel like prices are actually falling, or are they holding steady, or prices plateaued? What are you seeing?
It's a great question. So generally speaking, right now we're seeing housing prices settle. They're not dropping per se, but they're leveling out. Instead of seeing 10, 15, 20% appreciation per year, we're kind of seeing things hold steady. And why that's a good thing is we are starting to see a much more buyer-centric market. So it's been very seller-centric the last couple of years, not a lot of negotiating room, very tough for buyers. You're basically at the seller's mercy, where now we're seeing seller paid closing costs every now and then. We're seeing price negotiations. We're seeing different things, which makes it a much easier market for your average buyer.
Gotcha. So would it be fair to say that the terms of an accepted contract now are significantly more buyer-friendly than they were a year ago?
Yeah, 100%. So it's a big leap, right? So yes, they are significantly better. There's still some room to go in my mind, and I think we'll see that as we move into the spring and summer, hopefully. But it's definitely a much easier time for a buyer to go get a house than it was a year ago.
Right. So we're getting, let's just say, a little more relaxed contingencies. For you, I know you send your guys out on the appraisal and the financing contingencies. You get those mega low, regardless of the market. You're always going to be, I'm going to say, more competitive than anybody I've ever seen. So that's an advantage of working with you. But on the other side, in terms of, earnest money, we've seen non-refundable earnest money in the past, or even these appraisal gap contingencies. So these chances where a buyer may really kind of put themselves in a corner because they really want to own a property, they don't have to go out on a limb as much as they once did.
It's much easier for your average person now. So we've seen contracts, you and I have seen contracts where somebody's buying a $600,000-$700,000 house, and the seller wants literally $50,000 to $100,000 in earnest money.
Right.
That puts most people out of the market. So now we're seeing a $600,000 house, 1% to 2%, which is more commiserate with, reality and kind of a normalized market. So we're definitely seeing relaxations there, where earnest money is more commiserate with kind of a normal market for a buyer, which it's more even negotiating. So instead of, again, on an $800,000 house, your earnest money might be $10K instead of $50 or $60. Yeah, and same thing with contingencies. Instead of waiving finance, waiving appraisal, 18-day close, cash buyers with the option to get a loan. Instead of those things, we're still seeing some of that. If somebody wants to get very aggressive, they have the opportunity to do that. But we're seeing 10, 12, 14-day finance, 10, 12, 14-day appraisal. We're seeing 30, 45-day closes. There's not the huge push by the sellers to really dominate and close down those terms, which again makes it much easier for your average buyer to compete and actually buy a house.
And I'll end it with this. Those opportunities still happen. And when I mean opportunities, I mean if a property comes on the market and it's drop dead gorgeous and it's at a fair price, it can still get crazy.
Yep.
And the offers can look like 2021, early 2022. Don't assume that the craziness can ensue, because it still happens.
100%. So your average properties and your above average properties are going to be more buyer friendly than they were a year ago, for sure. Your phenomenal properties, you're still in a grudge match.
Yeah.
You're still going to have 5, 10, buyers trying to get that property, and you're going to be competing, and you're going to have to put your best foot forward, which again is going to be why a good lender is super, super important. You have to have a lender that has appraisers that are familiar with the area. You have to have a lender that's quick and that can underwrite in a couple of days, that can appraise in a couple of days. So those things come into play when you need them.
Perfect. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you have any further questions, please check out the contact information below.